The Phillies didn't fire Rob Thomson because he forgot how to manage. They fired him because Boston fired Alex Cora first. The Red Sox pulled the trigger, ownership around baseball saw it, pressure changed, and suddenly Dave Dombrowski needed his own move. Because when you're the team that is 9-20, ownership isn't asking if the manager should go. They're asking why the front office still has keys to the building.
Fly ball. Did he get enough? Manny Machado stands alone as the Padres' all-time home run leader.
Goodness, Jim Joyce.
And this pitch is hit to deep center field. Back goes Lofton to the track, to the wall. Gavin has done it. My.
So Rob Thomson got fired. Not because he was the problem, because he was the fastest solution. And honestly, they might not be wrong to panic, but they're blaming the wrong person. The Phillies, again, 9-20, worst record in baseball. And Rob Thomson, the guy who took them to the World Series in 2022, that gave them 4 straight playoff appearances and owns the best winning percentage in franchise history, is gone? Okay. Don Mattingly steps in as interim, wins the first game 7-0, and immediately the conversation becomes, did the Phillies actually fix something, or did they just remove the easiest person to blame? One shutout win doesn't exactly suddenly erase a month of bad roster construction. It just gives people a cleaner headline at this point. And managers are the easiest change, not always the right one, but managers don't hit, and managers don't fix a 157 batting average, and managers don't magically create power at second base, and managers don't turn weak roster construction into October baseball. That starts upstairs, and I keep mentioning this, and I said it in the Red Sox video. And if we're being honest, Dave Dombrowski deserves the biggest share of the blame, because the holes were obvious all winter. And Alec Bohm, he became a real question the moment the second half of 2024 happened. He made the All-Star team. He looked the part for a long-term core of the Phillies. Then he cooled off in the second half. He literally got benched in the NLDS, and suddenly the trade rumors were everywhere. That carried right into 2025. Now, don't get me wrong, because you might bark at me if you're a Phillies fan. You guys are aggressive, so I'll take it easy on there. He did hit 287, 11 home runs, but it was 11 home runs. It wasn't 15 like the year before. It was a decline. He was less impactful. He seemed to have less confidence, and there seemed to be a lot of stuff boiling up in the locker room or behind the scenes that I don't know if it was smoke or if it was actual fire. And the same question kept hanging over him. Is he good, or is he good enough for a championship team? Because that's the conversation that the Phillies never really fully answered. And now in 2026, with him adding 157 and carrying a 444 OPS, that is a problem that is louder than anything. And looking on the other side of the diamond up the middle, Bryson Stott had already become a major question mark at second base. I mean, the infield lacked power outside of Bryce Harper. I can't take away from him. He's still doing fine. And instead of really aggressively fixing it, though, they mostly ran it back, and they kept Kyle Schwarber. It's hard to say to sign him or extend him. They signed, he kept him. All right, fine. Good player. Not even gonna argue that. He's still productive. But offensively, they kind of chose a status quo. Like, they added Jesus Luzardo, which was a good move to kind of help offset the losing of Ranger Suarez, which I still think they should have re-signed and extended unless he just straight up didn't want to play in Philly. That kind of protected the rotation, at least at the top end. But I honestly think they put way too much faith in Aaron Nola and hoping that he would bounce back, and they weren't exactly prepared for the back end of the rotation. You can't control Zach Wheeler's serious injury and the life-threatening stuff. Like, I completely understand that. Nobody should be held accountable for that, like, whatsoever. But you can control whether or not you're prepared for your 4th or 5th starter to be a problem. They weren't ready. Like, and speaking of which, Taijuan Walker just got released, and he had an abysmal ERA just to start the season, and he has a massive contract, so they're just willing to let him go without worrying about the money, I guess. They also, at the beginning of the season, let go of Nick Castellanos, which is a good move. And it really, in my sense, I like Nick Castellanos. I know most Phillies fans didn't, and that's fine, but he needed a new home. I know he can produce somewhere else, and he's doing that in San Diego. Is he producing a lot? No, but he's definitely doing a lot better than what he was doing this last season in Philly. I don't know if it is a clubhouse issue. I don't know if it's an organization issue. The guys on the team seem like they're good guys, but there's something that's not clicking. And speaking of Nick Castellanos, while he's gone, they didn't really do anything meaningful to replace him. Like, the replacement is Justin Crawford. He gets called up and suddenly the rookie is supposed to be an everyday answer. He should be developing. You should be putting him in spots where he can exceed and learn and grow, not really carry your season. I don't know if that's the expectation here, and I don't think anybody believes that, but that's a lot of pressure on a rookie to replace somebody who has been terrible. Your fans are naturally looking for a massive upside, like a huge swing of stats from absolutely terrible to absolutely great, because this is your top prospect. Now, people who are producing, Bryce Harper is still producing. He's batting .269, 6 home runs, .859 OPS. Awesome. Keep it up. I was worried about you in the World Baseball Classic. Now I'm not. Kyle Schwarber, he's still producing. Okay, 9 home runs, .851 OPS. I'm only going to say those stats specifically because, well, he's hitting .190, which sucks, but he's still doing the Kyle Schwarber things. You know what I mean? He hits home runs. So that's your expectation. That's why you have him as a DH. But again, going back to your third baseman, your Alec Bohm, he's hitting .157 with a .444 OPS. That sucks. Bryson Stott really has no power. Is he hitting for average? But you still expect more out of him, especially in the early days, like 2022, 2023. He was doing a lot better. Trey Turner, he's batting at .254, okay. OPS, though, .696. You're almost to league average, but not quite. And that dude is making superstar money. That's why Rob Thomson got fired. It's because of the production of the team, which is still not his fault, if you ask me. They're supposed to be there to coach, as in manage the team. He's the manager. He manages the team and when they play, where they're going to play, and makes the moves in game. He's not supposed to be hands-on and responsible for how they're producing in the game. The middle of the roster for him just happened to disappear. It didn't matter what order he put in. They just stopped producing. And Dombrowski knows this, because when he got asked if he still is the right guy to be running the front office, he basically refused to answer. And I always say basically, he said, let the people decide. He said, I'm not going to answer. You guys can make that decision, which is an executive language for I really prefer not to talk about this, and literally we'll talk about anything else. And honestly, I kind of don't blame him for dodging that question, because there's no good answer. There is no good answer. If he says yes, fans get mad and say, fuck no, you're not, get out. If he says no, well then you still got a riot. Security has to walk him out to the parking lot because he just admitted that he should not be doing this job, and he will lose his job. I don't blame him for not giving an answer and for shrugging it off. Granted, it's still going to piss everybody off. Is it the worst answer? Probably not. Is it the best answer he could give? Fuck no, it's not. I do blame him for the winner. Rob Thomson had already proven he's a very good manager, just like Alex Cora. In 4 straight playoff appearances, a World Series appearance, he didn't suddenly forget baseball. He can only get out of the lineup what the front office gives him. And like Boston, if the front office and the manager aren't operating together, the whole thing falls apart. And I don't even see Thomson as the fall guy. I think he became an obstacle at this point. Dombrowski wanted a different direction. The problem is nobody knows exactly what that direction is, because right now it feels like the Phillies are still trying to live in 2022, which, if you haven't noticed, that was 4 years ago. And baseball does not care about what happens and what worked 4 years ago. The player still has to be better. At some point, players have to play, but when many guys decline at once, I start wondering if it's bigger than just performance. Maybe it's the clubhouse tension. Maybe it's the hitting philosophy. Maybe it's a coaching conflict, which I don't know about that one. Maybe it's the entire environment just needs a hard reset, because when an expensive roster forgets how to hit the ball all at once, that usually isn't random. Firing the manager is usually the first move, not the last one. Speaking of which, okay, let's talk about the polar opposite, right? Who's next in line? The Mets. Because if Philly fans feel bad right now, there's New York fans, and they exist, and they're here to make sure that nobody suffers alone. The Mets did the exact opposite of Philly. Philly mostly ran it back. The Mets treated this offseason like it was a shopping spree. Not surprising there though, right? So it's not shocking, but they did sign and trade for literally every infielder they could possibly find. Big names, Bo Bichette, Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien. They got everybody. They're big contracts, big headlines, and somehow they still look like a team trying to assemble IKEA furniture without instructions. Spending money does not fix bad baseball. Carlos Mendoza is already getting the same pressure Cora and Thomson just got, and honestly, that feels unfair too. Because if Juan Soto is managing forearm issues, Luis Robert Jr. is dealing with back tightness, and the roster keeps underperforming, the manager becomes the easiest target, just like the other two stories. Not always the right one. Same story though, different uniforms. And while Boston is firing people, Philly is resetting, the Mets are trying to explain how this happened, and the Yankees are just winning. Again, they've won 10 of their last 12. They're 20-11 now, and Aaron Judge just homered the last game. Third straight game. Cam Schlittler went 6 scoreless innings against Jacob deGrom, dropping his ERA to a 1.51, and somehow this doesn't even feel like the biggest story because people only talk about the Yankees when they're collapsing. But right now, they look like the most stable team in the American League, and this is where the Yankees make the Phillies look even worse because New York basically used the exact same blueprint as the Phillies. They ran it back. They didn't chase giant headlines. They trusted the group they believed they could develop and actually work with. It's still Aaron Judge. Again, Cody Bellinger is doing the exact same thing that he expected. Jazz Chisholm flashes for a few days and then disappears for a week. And honestly, I'm waiting for the real summer weather in New York before I fully judge that one. But some guys wake up when it gets hot out, and that's how I feel about Jazz. And they're doing all of this while dealing with injuries to major rotation arms. Like their future shortstop already had injury questions. Well, that was Volpe, who's fighting his way back through the minor leagues on his, I guess, rehab assignment. But now you have Jose Caballero, and he's literally the Seattle's former backup utility guy and is playing like a real everyday infielder for them. They've developed him, or at least give him a good enough aura to feel good and feel confident at the plate to produce. That's roster planning. That's knowing exactly what your roster is. And meanwhile, the Phillies is asking Justin Crawford to save their season in a way. It's the same run it back strategy, just completely different execution. So Boston fires Cora, Philly fires Thomson. The Mets bought literally everyone, and that's not working at all, while the Yankees are sitting there like the one team in the class that actually studied for this test. That should scare everybody, because while everyone else is asking who gets fired next, the Yankees are asking where to hang another division banner. That's a much bigger problem for anybody who's not a Yankees fan. Subscribe, all right? Like the video. I love you too much, and I'll catch you all later.